Four, three, two, one, and we are live. Whenever you are, wherever you are. Thank you for joining the Design of Everyday People live stream, where I talk to senior UX designers from all over the world and where you get to literally ask them anything. So stick around to the end where you get your questions answered. But let's start making this session as interactive as possible, like always, and drop an emoji or the name of your city where you're tuning in from, and I'll get us started with the intro. This is the Design of Everyday People. All right, and I just checked we are live both on YouTube and on LinkedIn. And I just want to remind folks that this conversation is recorded, so you can go check out the YouTube if you're just going to tune in for a little bit of this. Okay, let me close that. And before we get started as well, I am really excited to share today's sponsor. I'm partnering with Rajiv from Shift UX for a brand new free webinar that's laser focused on helping UX designers, product people, and research professionals land jobs in 2025. Because let's be honest, the market is brutal right now. Mass applying doesn't work, generic profiles don't work, and being good at UX isn't enough anymore. And Rajiv has been on the front lines coaching real designers through the mess. And this webinar, he's showing you exactly why most candidates are getting stuck and how to fix it for good. So, this 2 hour session, you'll learn why 90% of the applicants are invisible and how the top 10% think differently, how to fix your personal brand so you can actually stand out in this crowded, flooded market, how to target companies that match your strength instead of hoping you just fit, and the brutal truth of why resumes, portfolios, and outreach fail and how to fix it. This isn't surface level advice. It's a blueprint for getting hired faster, even in a tough market, and especially the one now. The webinar is totally free and will take place on Friday, May 30th at 1 p.m. EST. If you want access, I'm going to leave that QR code throughout the event. So if you feel like that's something you want to do, please go scan that. And I'll just quickly flash it on the screen here. So you can visit the web page to register just by scanning this QR code that I have now. Or checking out the link in the description of this event. So if you're tired of guessing and you want a real strategy, don't miss this. And let's get back to the show. All right. Again, QR code here. So, welcome to How to Design for Accessibility. Ask Me Anything. Quick introductions, like always. I'm Chris, the founder of UX Playbook, but before that, a self-taught designer struggling to get into UX. And now I spend most of my days helping designers navigate a fuzzy UX career with UX Playbook, from building your first portfolio to leading your first design team. But that's enough about me. Today, I'm joined by Maigen Thomas, founder, educator, principal UX consultant. So let's get her out and find out how she's doing. Let me find that UI. Hey, how you doing, Maigen?
Hey. Chris, you're so good at this. I love this. This is such a fun experience.
Awesome. Yeah, there's just a lot to say, and sometimes I forget to breathe, so I'm like,
That's okay. I even hear the stars as they sing "Breathe In." So I'm noticing as people like control their breath. You're doing great. This is awesome.
Okay, great. So, for the folks that don't know you, Maigen, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a pink hair powerhouse. And then I forgot all the rest of that ChatGPT derived intro. It did a great job, but I forgot it. I'm Maigen Thomas. I founded an agency last year to do accessibility focused website design for small businesses and organizations. But I've been a lot of things in the last 11 years in tech. I was started as a front end developer, moved into UX on the job, and I've been pretty obsessed with accessibility for, I would say, like the last 5 years, but okay, fine. Obsessed with it for the last 2. And then knowledgeable about it for the last 5. And I help other people grow their career in UX, especially in a kind of a non-traditional way. I don't have great advice like Rajiv has about how to find that amazing corporate job that you're looking for, but I can help you get that experience that is industry recognized and respected by others in a more a scrappier kind of way. Like treat yourself like a startup. How are you going to get that first customer? That's how I help people find their first experience.
That's awesome. My first job was also a startup, so I really appreciate that scrappiness of a startup, and using that sort of mindset. So before we jump into the conversation, I want to remind folks that as they listen to this, where is that button? I keep on, yeah.
Where is that button?
Um, Drop your comments and questions below, and we'll answer them. And I'll try and bring it up as we're talking if it, sets us up for the next point, or we'll answer them at the tail end of this. But as you know, sometimes you have a question if you're listening to this that just like runs out of your mind if you don't jot it down straight away. So let's prevent that. And if you have anything you want to ask us, feel free to drop it in the comments on YouTube or on LinkedIn. So
Perfect.
I wanted to start this conversation. Well, we're talking about how to design for accessibility. So I think the first thing to set this conversation up is, what is accessibility and why is it important, Megan?
Well, accessibility is essentially making your website, your product, even just a single screen available to folks who may have different abilities than you do as the designer or than the people who run the business do. That at its heart is just making sure everybody has access to the same information, the same experience that we all do. And why it's important is I think most of us, especially in the design world, we do prioritize inclusiveness. It may be like an edge case where some companies are like, "Ooh, we only like typically serve this person right here," but that's like an affinity group, not people who only have two arms, kind of thing. Like that's not the segmenting that we do. I'm like, oh, it's 7 a.m. and I'm still like the coffee is still kicking in. My brain's gonna kick in probably about halfway through this interview. Anywho, so accessibility is important because it makes sure that as a business or as someone who's creating for others, you reach the widest audience possible, but also it just makes it a more inclusive thing so that more people can enjoy it no matter what. Yeah. I just saw the comment. Crystal Scott says hashtag ally. And I'm like, yes, exactly. Because we could be allies to other people in really simple ways as designers.
Um, I throw a curveball at you real quick?
Of
I know it's
course.
quite early, but um,
Let's do
like
it.
okay, so we're kind of talking about startups, or we mentioned them,
Yeah,
and would it be usually too early to consider accessibility in most startup environments? I say most because it depends what kind of thing you're working on.
sure.
But how do you, I guess, like, is that true? And when you work with startups, what's the usual kind of way you kind of get in there by saying, hey, it is important, guys. Like, here's why.
Okay, so yes, it is totally important. It's not too early to think about it, even at a startup. And the reason for that is, well, first, it's a money thing. So you're going to be able to get that approved, or you're going to get your leadership to agree with doing accessibility work early when you can say, hey, for every hour that UX spends on making sure something is accessible upfront before it goes to developer work. I think it was Nick's Steinhaus. I don't know actually how to pronounce his last name. I just realized that I've never said it out loud. He talked about it's like 1 hour of UX is worth 4 hours of development time. So 4x the cost savings is an amazing ratio. But there's also been studies. I think it was Forrester or something, some other one of those. Like we charge lots of money for you to get access to our research and intelligence. It was like 100x the cost. So remediation costs way more than just baking it in from the start. And there's some really, really, and I really mean this, like super basic, like not rocket science. I also like love to tell people I am an ex-flight attendant. I promise you nothing I do is rocket science. In fact, I am one of the I'm one of those lazy smart people. Like I always want to find the easiest possible way to do something, especially if I have to do it repetitively. You will be able to do all of the early basic accessibility stuff like right off the gate and get your leadership or your design leader to agree to allowing you to spend that time on it because it's such a benefit later. So, yeah, it's never too early to start working on accessibility things or making sure it has broad access to as many folks as possible. And what was the second part of your question? You asked about, is it too early at a startup? And now I forgot the rest.
And then, like, when you go based on what you said, would you say that to a startup? Would you pitch them the same way?
Mm.
Or how would you go about being like, "Hey, this is worth your time, guys?"
Oh, would I say that? Okay, approaching a startup and saying, "Hey, can I come in and be a consultant for you early in the process?" That is actually easy because I'm not saying, "Let me come be your founding designer and change everything about everything you're doing and make it accessibility first." No, I can say, "Hey, you're in the process of building maybe your mobile app, or maybe just like you're building a new website for a client. Let's do an hour and chat through the major user flow or the major pages of the website and take a look at some of the accessibility updates that you can make while you're developing it." And that's actually a really easy way to sell my services into a company like that. But if I'm approaching someone, and again, I focus on website accessibility. So, like, I am kind of design person. So, when I'm approaching companies, it's typically about their website and I talk about remediation. And that's actually my favorite one because I discovered, like, those ads that are like, one weird trick your doctor doesn't want you to know. I think I figured out the one weird trick, which is, did you know the IRS disabled access credit will pay for half of your website updates? Like, legit. It is super basic. It's like a 5 question form. And if you spend up to $10,000 on per year on website remediation to make it more accessible to folks, you get 50% of that back as a tax credit. So you have to spend like a little bit of money first, like $250, but anything over that. So I can say, if we spend $5,000, because I'm not trying to like max out all of your monies, but if we spend 5,000, if you pay me for, now math is really hard early in the morning, but like a certain number of hours or a package of me remediating your website, 50% of that is a tax credit. And that's here in the US. I don't know about other countries, but I can't imagine that they don't exist, especially as the European Accessibility Act is actually like in a month becoming very, very enforceable. So very, very soon. So I would approach them in similar ways and just say, "Hey, now is the time, and the next best time is today." What was it? The Chinese proverb or some old proverb. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the next best time is today. That's the same for accessibility.
Yeah, that's a great way to sort of come in where it's like it's yeah, you can save money and it's great for the product. There's so many of these like benefits, right? Where they're like, is
Yes.
it a cost center? Well, actually, if it isn't, then there's just so many things. I think a question that Crystal had, which kind of takes us to our next point, which I think we should address. It should start with brand guidelines, color contrast, palettes, logos, readable font. Is
Yes.
are you aligned with that, or do you think there's
Yes.
somewhere else? Okay.
It feels like it's not that hard. And again, I bring up the rocket science. Like this, there's an old movie called like what, like it's rocket surgery or something. I can't remember. It's just so dumb. Yeah, make sure your color palette is accessible. So many people, so many companies I see are using one of their brand colors. For instance, one tiny example, they use one of their brand colors as their link color, but that link color is not accessible because they used a brand color, as opposed to just quickly checking, "Hey, does this have good contrast against the background? Does it have good contrast against the text around it? And if it doesn't, choose a slightly darker color." Ta-da! And now you've changed that across all the pages of your website. All of your links are suddenly more accessible. And now people understand and can see and perceive and operate them. And then it's a win. And it, like Crystal will probably also tell you, like, it takes 15 minutes. It takes max an hour to go, "Oh, that color didn't test appropriately. Let me select something darker. And it's also, if you have like a marketing team that's like, don't change the colors ever, I guarantee if they understand that someone could, in fact, not perceive this button on the interface and therefore not be able to click it, and therefore we lose money, like you can slow it down for them. If we lose money because they can't see it, doesn't that feel like it would be an appropriate change to make? Like, it's very easy to convince people when you have a good argument, not just I don't like that color. So it starts so simple: accessible, readable fonts, fonts that you're not using those fancy script. Trust me, I own like 1,000 fonts I have paid for back in my I wish I was a visual designer days. I think I thought I was going to be like a wedding invitation designer. That's how many script fonts I have. And people will use those as more than just a couple words in the headline. And those are really hard to read. And if people can't read information on your website, guess what they do? They leave because they feel this isn't for me, or this makes me feel stupid, or I can't perceive this. Is that even text on here? So you're missing out on money. And that's like the biggest selling point to companies. If we aren't making money because this font is not accessible, we're not using that font. Or at least that's the logical option. Look
Right.
at Crystal over here with the tools, color contrast checker. I love it.
I think there's
There's so
a
many good ones.
contrast checker in Figma these days, which is
Yeah.
awesome, right?
There's
Built
more
in.
than one. Oh, wait, is it built into Figma? I haven't touched Figma in a hot second. Oh my gosh. You don't even have to use a plugin? Well, then
Nope.
it's not rocket science, y'all. Come on. We
Yeah.
got this. We can do this.
And I believe that too. And so I think the next thing that we should discuss is how can we do accessibility evaluations as a
Mm,
junior designer? Because I don't
mm.
think I could do this, because maybe there's more complexity, but it seems like it's quite approachable and, pun intended, it's pretty accessible, right?
Yes. Okay. See, that right there just made me so happy, because my job, if nothing else, because there's so many, first of all, there's so many more smarter people than me. I'm not even sure that was an appropriate like language syntax, but many people in this world focused on accessibility are much smarter than me. They have so much in-depth knowledge. And sometimes the way they talk about it feels a little inaccessible. It feels very intimidating. I did a poll last week and asked people, like, what prevents you from getting started with accessibility? And one of the biggest answers in that poll was the fear of doing it wrong, or fear of not knowing like what to do, what is the right thing to do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we can totally get started with this. And this is actually what I teach, because I want it to feel accessible. I want an early career designer to think, this right here is my little line in the sand of what I stand for, is my designs are accessible. Ma'am, if you, my cat's over here and she will hit the lock button on the computer, and then suddenly everything disappears. Yes, ma'am, you need attention, Queen Angie. Okay. So I teach people how to do a really simple process, and I based my process on the WebAIM 1 million. So this is a study that they do every year, the Web Accessibility in Mind. So webaim.com or .org. They do a study. They check all of the 1 million top websites on the planet, which is bonkers to me. And they run the homepage against the wave checker. And then they just kind of correlate the results, or they collate the results. And they say, 70, I think it's 79.8% of homepages have color contrast issues. Like, if they can find that in a span of not that long, out of a million websites, that means too many websites have color contrast issues. And like, that is a fixable thing. And I teach people how to go through and check that using very, very basic tools in the browser. Some people have never used developer tools, when, right click and inspect. And I'm like, ooh, let me show you. The code is also not scary. And I've got a process that takes you through most of those top issues that are found. I teach you really basic ways to check them. And when people do it the first time, I think they're honestly floored at like, oh, I can do this. I know enough to do this myself. And then they start feeling a little bit more powerful, and they start feeling like, oh, I have skills. I know how to do this. And again, none of it is terribly complicated. I just give you kind of a framework so you can, at the very least, say, hey, let's check a couple things. Like, we're not going to go fix absolutely every accessibility issue, but you can bring a few things in a timely manner to your development team, or early enough in the process that you can make some real impact.
Right. I think it is about proving value and finding those quick wins, especially as a junior, something that potentially you could do without involving other people and just be like, look, isn't this better than what we had? Or like, here's the
Yes.
things that I checked, here's the things I ran through, here's a report. I haven't changed anything. I might need
Yeah.
a dev's hand to change something, but
Yeah.
that is way better than just kind of like knocking on the accessibility sort of private VIP room and being like, yeah, I don't want to go in there because it's scary and I need permission versus like actually saying, hey, I've actually done a bunch of stuff here. What do you guys think? Right. And kind
Mhm.
of bring those folks into the process. That sounds
Yeah.
approachable.
It's so approachable and it's really convincing to your leadership. And then that looks really good on your portfolio where, like, I convinced leadership by demonstrating six easy wins for accessibility. Like, that's huge. And that's also design leadership. So you're flexing some muscles that you don't get to spend a lot of time flexing as an early career designer. So I encourage that.
Yeah. I read this. Okay. So should accessibility be thoroughly treated in line with the concept of deceptive patterns in design? What are your thoughts here?
That's such a good question. I love your name, Prince Will. Should accessibility be thoroughly treated in line with the concept of deceptive patterns? So I'm going to interpret this question since we can't like hear more details about this. I think what you're saying is we should make sure that we're looking for or avoiding using deceptive patterns in our designs, especially early in the process, and at the same time look for those accessibility issues. And I agree. If you are already aware of the concept of deceptive patterns and you care enough about your users and their experience to avoid deceptive patterns, then I think that you're that like right up there is like, let's make sure that the most people on average have access to this information as well. There's always going to be well, I don't love the term, but a lot of people would say edge cases, which is like that one person isn't able to use it in this one specific scenario. And we're not always able to solve for those right away. But by being aware of and bringing accessibility eye early in the process, we're actually more likely to solve that problem later or not have that problem at all or set ourselves up to solve it in a really easy way.
Yeah. And I think deceptive patterns are like everywhere. And
Mm,
we also have to recognize that why are they there? Like, what purpose is it there? And why did the designer design it like that? Like, is it to improve conversion rates? Is it to increase engagement? Are they trying to sell ads? Why is there an autoplay feature? Like all
mm,
of these patterns that are out there
yeah.
that kind of like lead us down this rabbit hole, lead the user down this rabbit hole because the business wants to. So sometimes uh, you just can't change it, but you can ask questions, and that's a very very good first step. But so I fell into this deceptive pattern the other day. I was booking a car, and I was just pressing really quickly, and somehow
Mhm.
I bought this voucher for a month, 99 vouchers for a month of 20% off. I did not want that. I just wanted to book the car, and I was like,
Did it sneak into your cart?
yeah, it sneaks into my car, and I checked out way before, and I was just like, God damn it. Um, I'm sure the designer probably didn't want to implement something like that or was told to. And or there was lack of visual feedback or
Yeah.
warning to or like confirmation, but things like that just happen. Sorry, I'm going on this rant, but like
No, it's okay.
it's a real thing, right?
It
Yeah.
is. It's a real thing, and in some part of me, I guess the little capitalist part of me is like, yeah, and then you're going to make extra money and that's awesome for the business. And the much larger part of my heart that says, "Ooh, is that ethical?" Because I'm on the autism spectrum, and I know that my sense of social justice is really kind of outsized compared to I don't know maybe my parents growing up. May or may not have been a trigger, but that is something that I'm aware of. Like, would I appreciate having this experience happen to me? If no, then I'm going to try to guide the company towards like, here's something that could help increase sales and still be like ethical consumption. I always want consent-based purchasing, consent-based marketing. Like if you didn't ask for this, or you're like, please stop showing me this, then we should respect that, because I think that's how we'd all like to be treated. And we have the ability to vote with our dollars as buyers. Now, I recognize in an employer's market, you don't always get the opportunity as a designer to be like, I stand on principle. Sometimes you're like, I would like a paycheck and to pay my rent and to put food in my mouth. That would be awesome. So, like, I recognize that not everyone is in the position to say, hey, I don't think this is the right thing we can do. And I also believe that there's usually an opportunity for us to grow as designers to say, okay, what's the intention we're trying to accomplish with this inaccessible experience, like an auto-playing video, or that deceptive pattern like sneak into cart. And if it's we want to promote this product and we think people are going to skip by it, is that because that product maybe needs to be rethought and isn't the ideal product and we're just really trying to force people to buy it? In which case, are you truly actually winning their business, or are you just creating work for your customer service team when people inevitably go, I didn't mean to buy that. Please take that off of my charge, as I imagine you might have done. Or you're just going to suck it up and be like, well, I got 99 vouchers and I
I better
guess
use them. I
we're
better take the
doing
car off.
this now. Yeah. So I think we have options, and some of it like requires us to be really creative in how we start to solve problems and to ask better questions. So if the marketing team is like, you have to do this, or your sales leadership is like, you have to do this on the website, well, what are we trying to accomplish there? And even if you're not allowed to put it in your product, make a tiny little, and I love to see teeny tiny little case studies on people's portfolios. I don't need to see your end to end everything. I love to see how you're like, I was told to do this. I personally would have done it a different way. So I explored those options. I didn't even take them to full high fidelity. I just thought this might be a better way. And then you're showing your thought process. So I'm also, because I mentor so many early career designers, I'm always looking for like, how can you best show off your magic? The Maigen magic. How do you show off your magic so that people go, I really want to work with you because you're an upstanding person, because you care about the user experience, because you're a kind, ethical kind of person. So
Yeah.
I think it's really meaningful to become that kind of designer, and you can start at any point in your career.
Yeah, agreed. Let's move on to how do we evaluate accessibility? Like metrics or method? What are your like go to? What's the one in your back pocket that you're like, if you're just starting out, you should think and use this?
Okay. I may be a little bit obsessed, so like forgive me, but I honestly think that as if you're just starting out, accessibility is your secret weapon. So there's not enough people in the world today who are focused on accessibility, who can actually do the work that needs to be done in time to meet that European Accessibility Act, those requirements. We have advanced requirements coming in multiple states here in the US. You probably haven't heard about this, but there are some kind of simultaneous data protection laws happening in states that you wouldn't expect, like a little bit of sorry with the thumbs up here, a little bit of shade to places in the South, but like Missouri is coming up with like data protection for its citizens, like the California consumer protection laws. Like that's awesome. Would not have expected, the South to be a champion of that. And similarly, there are like not organizations, regional and local governments that are saying, hey, your product, services, websites, et cetera, need to be accessible. And I think we all need to find ways to align with that. And I just realized I lost my train of thought halfway through that. So as an early career designer, accessibility is that secret weapon because so many people are not doing it. So if you choose this as your specialization, because if you went to a boot camp, they're like, you should specialize. And you're like, in what? And they're like, oh, anything. I think it should be accessibility. It's a superpower. It is going to be more necessary in the future, not less necessary. Did you know that 11,000 people a day are turning 65 in the US? And that's going to continue until 2030. By 2030, I just found this out. So I was like, what? I knew about the 11,000 people. I didn't know that by 2030, all of the baby boomer generation will have crossed 65. And I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, pretty sure that's the generation that like invented the litigiousness of the US. They're like, I didn't get what I want. I'm going to sue you. Well, guess what? They are, by the sheer fact of getting older, they are physically having slower reaction times. They are losing their precision in their eyesight. I'm like not trying to say people turn disabled the second they turn 65, but like you're losing your vision over time. You're losing your hearing over time. Your cognition is getting slower. Your reaction time is slower. It is just a little bit harder to access technology, and yet technology is advancing every day, whether or not you like it. So as someone coming into the industry right now, accessibility should be your focus, and ways that you can bring accessibility into the work that you do is only going to make your career better in the long term and not worse in the long term. It's like it is the initiative I think people should focus on. And yes, accessibility. I keep reading the comments. I'm ADHD, so I'm very like, ooh, what's going on over here? Graceful degradation. Thank you, Dane. But also the accessibility is intimidating until you dig into it. This is why I love talking about it. First of all, I love being excited about stuff. And I have a bit of like an infectious enthusiasm. So if I can get people hyped about doing this basic accessibility, maybe they'll get excited to go, oh, now I want to learn about mobile accessibility. Now I want to learn about PDF document remediation, or, destroying PDF documents in general. But that's a soapbox for another day.
So I guess like I don't know too much about accessibility, although I've worked in design for a while, but that still doesn't really give me all the tools that I might need. If I was to look at my website, I could look at it live now, but let's not do that because that would be messy. But if I was to, after this conversation, just take a look at my website, what are some things that are just quick wins that I can kind of check off? I think we spoke about color contrast.
Mm-hmm.
What else can I just be like, okay, this. So at least I could actually, implement some of this stuff on my homepage, because I know there's going to be a lot of stuff that I've completely,
You'll
disregarded.
miss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a little list of like super basic website checks that I now have trained my brain to look for, but I also keep a list of it. And then there's a tool that I use to show kind of folks who are not as familiar with it. They go, oh, well, that's super easy. So I'll tell you about the easy one first. There is a plugin or what's that called? An extension for Chrome that I use called Silk Tide. And it's just a quick little plugin. There's at the very top, it's got an accessibility check, and it will tell you, hey, you've got a whole bunch of links that say the same thing, but point to different destinations. You'll be like, oh, cool, thanks. It'll tell you that you've got some color contrast issues on a few different locations, and then point you to where they are. It'll let you know that you don't have a skip link. So if you've got navigation at the top, and you force people to listen to it over and over again as they're using their screen reader to navigate your site, like that would infuriate you. So why would we do that to someone else who's using a screen reader? So let's make it fair. So Silk Tide is really helpful. It's not perfect. I am not saying that like this or any other tool or AI assisted technology is going to catch everything. But if you're unfamiliar, that's a quick way to start. And it has the benefit of doing things like showing you what glare looks like. Like, what does your design look like if someone's in a brightly lit room and they can't get away from that sunshine? That has an impact. It's a temporary impairment on their experience, the same as if they have a permanent impairment, like a vision related disability. So it's super fun to play around with and be like, oh, that's what macular degeneration looks like when someone's looking at my website. There's all sorts of fun experiences. I love the experience of being in someone else's shoes for even just a moment to go, oh, that's what that looks like. Right. I am not the perfect user. And then I have a list, like make sure that you've got your headings in order. Like we're designers. I didn't understand headings until I became a designer. I was a developer and was like, I don't know, H1, who knows? So when you know better, you can do better. There should only be one H1 on a page. You should have alt text for linked images. So if you've got, for your case, like you've had lots of sponsors because you're really good at that. If you link to your sponsor websites, make sure that people who are using a screen reader, which is also helpful for folks who are in low data areas. So you're in Vietnam right now. Not all areas have amazing Wi-Fi or amazing data. So if those pictures can't load, give people an indication of like, this is the logo of blah, 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 whatever. Click to visit that website. And it's 16 seconds of typing on your side. And it's a world of benefit to the person who's receiving that page later. And it has compounding effects because that page is never going to suddenly lose that alt text. So everyone will have access to it forever. And then making sure like your buttons, like if you expect to sell something on your website, make sure those buttons have accessible text on them and that screen readers can see those buttons and read them out to the user. So it's not a ton of stuff. And I actually have, I didn't think to prepare something super quick and short, but you're going to share a QR code here in a little bit. And I have documents and templates and all sorts of free fun stuff because I want people to get excited about this.
I think we should share it now as
Oh,
the
okay.
topic. I mean, we can share it again, like
That was my
later,
best
but
job at self-promotion. I am not good at self-promoting, so thank you.
so Megan,
Yeah.
what do you have here? What am I showing on the screen at the moment?
You're so thoughtful. So I have a book that's actually coming out. The release date is in just 1 week. It's next Wednesday. And this is Practical UX. And essentially, I wrote a book that I would have loved to have when I was a junior, just trying to get some experience. My first work out of my boot camp, because I went to a boot camp, I was a flight attendant for 6 years and said, do I want to serve Coke and peanuts in the sky anymore? No. But what do I want to do? So I don't have a 4-year degree. I am the closest thing to programming I ever got to before I went to a full stack development boot camp was changing my Neopets sales page. Shout out to the olds on the internet, the elder millennials, and like programming the oven on the airplane. So before I went into development boot camp, I had no idea like how to approach people, how to do work for them. Practical UX is the entire process that I teach, which is how to find a small business that you can help. Don't feel like you have to only focus on these large companies with names that you've already heard of. There's like a million small companies that can totally benefit you and that you can benefit them through the work that you do. And I teach you how to find them, how to approach them, how to sell them, how to tell them, hey, I can help your website by doing a low cost, really high value website evaluation, finding some issues that might be preventing your folks from buying your product or connecting with you or booking your service. And then how to find the accessibility issues, how to present them to those stakeholders, because we don't talk about presenting to stakeholders a lot, like out in the industry. And then how to remediate the issues and how to upsell the work. So after you do the website evaluation and find the issues, you can say, hi, you should pay me to do the work. And then they get a tax credit for paying you to do the work. Again, that is only in the US. I should do some more research. But yeah, Practical UX is literally the guide. And because I'm an overachiever / I love to give, not only is the book available, when you get the book, you get the website evaluation template, a service agreement that I had a lawyer review for you, a potential client outreach tracker, a document to kind of jog your memory for like, who can I reach out to do this? The presentation slide deck. There's like 12 different add-ons that I add there. Oh, and then I created a little bonus for 220 plus different kinds of companies that you could reach out to tomorrow. And I guarantee their website sucks and is a poor user experience. And you could improve it with minimal effort, light lift, make a world of difference and make some money while you do it. And that turns into really amazing. Yay. Oh, thank you so much, Crystal. That's so sweet. I will say that the link that Crystal just shared in the chat, that only really benefits my publisher. So until that publishing date comes out, you can actually go to this QR code and it directly benefits me because, you know, that is amazing. But it also has a lower cost. So it's $27. The book is $49.99 from the publisher and it comes with all those templates. Oh, and 3.5 hours of video of me teaching you how to do the process. Because again, overachiever. But the practicaluxbook.com has a $27 package where you get all the bonuses and you get the book in a digital format, a PDF format, and it directly benefits me. So like shameless self-promotion. Thank you so much. But also Thank you. And you haven't heard about Neopets and Ages, Dane. I know, right? Go check on your animals. They are dying.
I love
And I'm
Neopets.
sweating
And
to death. No big deal.
yeah, so guys, again, I just want to flash that QR code on screen. Instead of like Crystal, we really appreciate you sharing the link, but we want to drive folks to here. So if you're interested, scan the QR code. Is it practicaluxbook.com? Is that the
Yes.
URL?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Practicaluxbook.com.
there you go, guys. So
Someone
practical
already
UX.
snagged Practical UX, but there is no website there. So I was like, I'll take the book part.
Okay. I think we had a question come up. Actually, before we dive into audience questions, I just have one uh selfishly, because this is fun and this is the show, but how should we approach business as a freelancer focused on accessibility? Like
Mm.
if I would, step outside of my comfort zone, or it's something that I'm passionate about and I'm ready to do it. I've done my studying and I've done a few projects. How do I then sort of branch out as a freelancer? How do I approach like a business?
Okay, two things that you're going to want to keep in mind. One is it no longer works to be like, hey, your website's ugly. You should let me design it for you. Because, first of all, it turns out when you do that, and I've done this a few times, some people get a little offended. That's basically their baby you're calling ugly. And they're like, I worked so hard on that. And you're like, I cannot tell. So instead of saying anything about visual aesthetics, because people get really attached to their brand style, we say, hey, you're missing out on up to about 15% of your potential target market because people can't read this information or they can't perceive the colors on your website. It's kind of off-putting, and you're missing out on money. So business owners, let's talk about what they actually need. They need money, and this is a small business or a large business, it doesn't matter. They're all looking to make a profit. So if you tell them that they're missing out on potential profits, their ears perk up way more than if you're like, your website's ugly. They're like, so we're still making sales. So coming at it from the accessibility angle is helpful. And then I also love to come in with high value and low cost, especially as an early career designer, to get traction. I actually have three things. One is the approach about accessibility, not visuals. One is, nope, and dang, I already forgot it. It was, oh, and numbers. It's a numbers game. So please don't feel like a poor, like abused puppy when the first person says no. They're gonna say no. They are gonna say no. The odds are high they're gonna say no. In fact, as part of the package, there is literally a sheet of paper that I want you to print out, and it has boxes from 1 to 100. And I want you to go for 100 no's. There's a book that I absolutely love by Jia Zhang. He did a TED talk called the Power of Rejection, something like Becoming Rejection Proof. Absolutely amazing. This guy went through some feelings about being rejected, and the book is amazing. But please know that it's just a numbers game. It is not a you suck and you smell funny and your mother dresses you weird. Like, no, we take it that way because, well, it's human psychology. We're like, rejection, I'm getting like tossed out of my herd of people, like in the agrarian, or not agrarian, like in our Neolithic times. Don't let that take over your brain. Just turn around and go, okay, maybe next time. Not now is usually the answer. No is the immediate word, but the answer is usually not now. And there's always room for follow-up questions. So please know it's a numbers game. Go for 100. I guarantee, like, I will personally refund you in your entire book purchase if you reach out to 100 companies and every single one of them says no. I am that willing, and I will stand by it. Like, you will get a yes before you reach 100 no's. No one has once taken me up on this, and I've been making this challenge for a couple of years now. So again, I'll wait for it, but trust me, this will not happen. And offering that high value, low cost website evaluation, just to say, hey, would you be willing to pay me $100 to take a couple hours or an hour and take a look at your website and let you know the things that might need assessment? So it's not even the super full, in-depth, ultra professional thing. It's just, let me take a look at it. And if I don't provide you value, then I'll give you your $100 back, but I guarantee you'll find information that can change, whether it's specific accessibility fixes, or you take a look and go, hey, your checkout process was really difficult. It's a UX experience. Either way, you're getting that knowledge, which is something that we have to do as UX designers, like get the reps in. You've got to do the work enough times to go, oh, I have now developed my discernment on that's a good UX experience and that's not a good experience. So really and truly just get out there and offer your services of let me take a look at your website and make sure that everyone can access it, that you're not leaving money on the table. So come from accessibility, high value, low cost, and just a numbers game. Reach out to as many people as possible.
So good, so good. That 100 rejections. After that 100, if you uh,
Skin off your
don't,
back.
if you don't build up that thick skin, by 100, you will have the thickest skin, and you'll be so bulletproof that you could
Yeah.
literally sell anything. So,
Yeah.
and plus, it's if it's work you also believe in, it's kind of a no brainer. Like the reason why folks don't like sales is because they think sales is icky, right? Like selling
Yes.
something that doesn't work or you're like tricking someone. But if you
Yeah.
actually like what you're doing and you're selling that, it's kind of they can see that. Like we can like sense the passion or sense the enthusiasm, and it's just not like the sales that you probably have in your head, or for most people that haven't freelanced before or sold anything. um,
Yes.
so
Yes. It feels scary, but it's basically like go back to that grade school feeling of asking a new friend, can I sit with you at lunch? Like, I don't know if everybody in the world has that experience, but like talking to a new person, making a new friend is super scary. But really, I'm learning to do sales myself. Like, please know that I am not some kind of major champion. I do also provide scripts like, hi, I'm so and so, and this is what I do, so that you don't have to get locked up and go, oh my God, what do I say? So I provide all of that too in the book resources. But just knowing that you're just approaching someone as a friendly person. And I tell people, like, if that's not your natural personality, picture yourself literally physically imagine one leg at a time putting on your Megan suit and zipping it up, because the Megan suit is bulletproof. So if you put on
mm,
the Megan suit for a hot minute and then you're like, oh, I got this pink hair, I'm a crazy old flight attendant, no big deal, we're going to make this awesome, you get more comfortable with reaching out. And then you're like, oh, it's actually not a suit, it's just this idea that I put on, that I'm willing to talk to people, I'm friendly, I'm nice, I'm kind, and I'm approaching with value, because there is nothing not valuable. Why did I do a double negative? There's so many valuable things that you can do for a small business to help them reach more customers and make the world just a tiny bit more accessible. I even love reaching out to companies just to say, hey, your website, like, I'm not even offering my services, I just want to be like, hey, could you please like update the color on the text of your website, or make the font not so thin, because it's really difficult to read and you might actually make more sales from it. And if they make that change, sometimes they do, even if they don't pay me, I'm excited because I made the world a slightly better place. And doesn't that feel really good?
yeah, I love that. And I think one of the homework for the folks on the call, if they have a portfolio, you should definitely run through that Google Chrome extension on your portfolio's homepage and just see what happens. Because there's probably something you could like get better at or fix or iterate real quickly and just be like, well, did I just do an audit on my own website? Maybe you did. And then that
Yeah.
is the first step to, bigger and better things. Uh,
Yeah.
so with that, let's go to the questions. We have one here. What are some overlooked accessibility features that designers can include to go beyond just the WCAG standard and truly enhance the user experience for everyone?
So overlooked accessibility features. Man, that's a deep question. I'm trying to think off the top of my head what I would say to truly enhance the user experience for everyone. Uh, Honestly, I'm gonna reach for it, the same thing that we always say, because it's so ubiquitously bad. WebAIM did their 2025 study, and 79, I'm going to say like 78% of websites that they tested have color contrast accessibility issues. It's obviously overlooked, or we wouldn't see that many homepages with color contrast issues. So, like, just go test all the colors on your homepage and double check that those, like Crystal said earlier, this goes back to setting accessible colors in your brand palette, and that's important. But going back and checking those, I don't know that everybody truly gets it, but 79% of 1 million websites is 790 1,000 websites that have accessibility issues just with the color contrast. So, like, you don't have to go far. You don't have to do like a deep cut in order to go, oh, we're going to make it super accessible. Just actually go through and check the color contrast. Clearly, people are not doing it. So, we should try and do that. Having a skip link is probably one of my favorite things now to check for. And I had a student who, she's a photographer, or she's also a photographer, and she uses SmugMug as her portfolio of her photo gallery of all the work that she's done. And SmugMug does not come with an automatic skip link. Strangely, I don't know if that's a platform limitation or if that's just not something that they've thought about. And this is someone who is like, I am not a coder. I was really intimidated when you first showed me how to look in the code at DevTools, but through maybe like 2 months of working together and her coming to my website evaluation webinars, I do them weekly. We'll start those back up again in June. But after learning that, like, what I'm looking for in the code, she actually, with the help of ChatGPT, created a skip link that she injected into the code on her website. And she was like, I didn't even know at first that it was a thing. I didn't know that I could write that code. And I didn't know how freaking simple it was going to be. And now people can skip past the navigation when they're using their keyboard to navigate or when they're using a screen reader. And like, that's just a kindness. And I actually default to using my keyboard to navigate a lot now, because now it's kind of second nature, because I'm checking just like 3 things at the top of the page. Like, oh, do I have focus indicators? Focus indicators. When someone's tabbing through your website, do not suppress the focus indicators. That's huge. People need to know where they are. Maybe they're on the phone with their healthcare or their doctor trying to get an appointment. They're holding a colicky baby. They've got dinner cooking. Like, we are doing a million things at the same time as humans in today's world. So making sure that they have that just quick visual confirmation of what they're looking at is, again, I go back to, is it rocket science? No. Lots of people suppress it. I did too when I was an early design or developer, because I didn't know better. But that focus indicator, don't suppress that. It's really important so that people can see where they are on the screen. And those are just really small things that I look for. So that is probably, aside from color, which should not be an overlooked thing, I would say the skip link is probably my favorite accessibility feature.
Sure. I have another question. What would you say are the core problems that accessibility designers are trying to solve right now?
There's a lot of accessibility designers are trying to solve right now. So I don't spend any time in the world of like native apps. And I think that is probably the most challenging. But I probably perceive this just like y'all might perceive accessibility in general as difficult because you aren't yet exposed to it. I perceive mobile and native mobile application accessibility as much harder than it probably is, just because I don't know anything about it. So there's that, like, I don't know what the opposite, Jeremy Miller would know, but the opposite of confirmation bias of like, oh, I don't know it yet, so it's probably really, really hard. That is what I think might be some of the things people are focusing on. But honestly, the core problem is helping educate our stakeholders and people that we're trying to sell our services to that it matters. And I am really leaning on this people are aging thing, because like, I don't want to, I'm trying to think of like an analogy that isn't what I'm thinking of, but essentially when we see things happen to other people and we're like, oh, that sucks for them, but we don't really have as much empathy because we haven't really walked a mile in their shoes. Accessibility needs are coming for all of us. We are all just temporarily abled. Cindy Lee said that a few years ago. By the sheer fact of aging, we are going to become disabled. But like last year, I fell off a horse that I had no real business being on. I fell off a horse. I yanked myself off a horse. Don't be on a horse going forward and an object in motion. This is obviously very old Isaac Newton. Don't be an object in motion and grab an object that is not in motion, because that sudden impact is not awesome. So I broke my arm falling off a horse. And for 6 weeks last year, I was like fully incapacitated on the left side. Luckily, that's my non-dominant arm. So I had the ability to do a lot of things, but I also had really limited ability to do many things, like typing on the computer became very hard. I became very good at doing the full keyboard with my hand. But just getting people to understand without having yet experienced the lack of ability to do something is a little hard, but I do believe that it's coming for everyone, so it's going to get easier and easier until some beautiful magical day in the future where I just imagine it's a default for everyone. I'm manifesting that.
I think that's a great place to sort of end it. Uh, Megan, you've been amazing sharing all your insights. Again, I want to give you a space to talk about your new upcoming book because I think that's really, really awesome. So, again, let's give you some space to.
You're so thoughtful. Thank you.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
anybody is excited, I mean, first of all, just talk about accessibility. Practical UX is, and it's my process that I've been teaching for a few years, and well, okay, not a few years, like 2 years. And I've had a lot of students go through, and they have landed paid gigs. They are finding ways onto teams that didn't originally have a UX designer because they're like, "Hey, I can help your business," and this is my passion in life. So if you have any questions about it, I'm super happy to answer them. But practical UX will help you get industry recognized experience and be able to talk about it effectively and a future proof skill. So I think accessibility is the skill of the future for UX designers. I think it is going to be ubiquitous regardless of what kind of interface, even the interfaceless like voice UI, accessibility still matters. So it's all going to be really exciting. And I think this is going to be helpful for early career designers. And if you're a senior designer, you might find something that you don't know about it. And if you've never sold anything in your life, please know that you are going to be doing sales for the rest of your career. As a designer, you have to sell your developers your ideas. You have to sell your product manager. You have to sell your leadership. You have to sell people that are going to hire you for your next job. So you are selling, even if you don't think you are. And I think this book will kind of cover all of the things that we don't really talk about as designers. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for coming today and
Of course.
just having a chat with us. I really appreciate that.
I really appreciate you. This was so fun. Thanks for all the great questions. I really appreciate it. Thanks for letting me be my full ADHD self.
Absolutely. And yeah, you guys have been awesome. Just like links and just like having a chat amongst yourselves in the comments. So always appreciate that. Okay. So Megan, I want to take you off stage while I wrap up. And yeah, stick around if you want to debrief, but you're okay to shoot off if you would like to as well.
Thanks.
All right. See ya. All right, guys. So go check out practicaluxbook.com or scan that QR code before I take it off the screen. And go follow Megan on LinkedIn. Her details should be somewhere in the event description. All right. So to wrap up, I want to talk about who we have on next and when is that. But before I do that, I also want to thank Rajiv and Shift UX, our sponsor. Again, he is hosting a 2 hour session where you learn how to be in the top 10% of applicants, how to fix your personal brand and stand out, and how to match your strength to the companies that you're applying for, and how to fix your resume, portfolio, and outreach. So that is a 2 hour free webinar on Friday, the 30th of May, 1 p.m. EST. So scan this QR code or that one there if you want to register. It's completely free. He's just sharing what he's done in the past and what worked for other designers that he's been coaching. So the next pod is on the May the 21st, and it's called How to Design with Mindfulness. And we are going to be speaking around how to practice mindfulness, not just in life, but also in your design career, how to overcome imposter syndrome, how to build a fulfilling UX career, because I think we all want that, and so much more. So if you're wondering, how do you do all these things? Maybe it's a lot of stress, anxiety, or uncertainty. A bit of mindfulness never hurt anybody. So if you want to join, again, QR codes everywhere, and to listen to that conversation and more conversations like this, please scan it or head to live.uxplaybook.org or subscribe to the YouTube, posting lots of videos there, going crazy on YouTube. But you'll get notified only for events, nothing else. But I think that's everything from me. Appreciate you guys again for asking questions and dropping all those links. So until next time, bye. This is the design of everyday people.
It sound right, boy.
This is the design of everyday people.
It sound right, boy.